For years, we've watched her journey, a story of heartbreak, resilience, and finding love again in the second chapter of life. Amy Roloff, the matriarch of the Roloff dynasty, seemed to have finally found her happily ever after with Chris Merrick, a picture-perfect marriage showcase for millions of loyal viewers on TLC. But what if that picture is a lie? What if the smiles are rehearsed, the affection, a performance, and the home they share is not a home at all, but a stage? Tonight, we expose what might be the biggest cover-up in reality television history. We have received a series of explosive leaks from a source deep inside the Little People Big World production, a source who claims the fairy tale is a facade. This disgruntled former crew member has come forward with a story so shocking it changes everything. They allege that the couple's on-screen affection is a carefully managed illusion. The source's central claim is this, and I'm quoting directly from their statement. Everyone on set knows. It's the elephant in the room. They don't live together. Not really. They have their own separate wings of the house. He has his, she has hers. They meet in the middle for the cameras. Once the director yells cut, they go back to their own lives. It's a business arrangement. Separate wings, separate lives. A marriage that only exists when the cameras are rolling. This is the bombshell claim that threatens to shatter everything we thought we knew about Amy and Chris. The producers have allegedly confirmed this arrangement off the record, desperate to keep their star couple's secret safe. But the truth has a way of getting out. This is a story so shocking, so full of twists, you will question everything you've seen on the show. We are about to break down the evidence, piece by piece. The subtle clues, the on-screen tells, and the social media forensics that support this incredible theory. This is the story the network doesn't want you to know. If you believe that viewers deserve the full story and you're ready to join us on this deep dive into what's really going on behind the scenes, do me a favor right now. Hit that powerful like button and make sure you are subscribed to LPBW Update with the notification bell turned on. You are not going to want to miss a single second of this investigation or our future updates as this story develops. All right, let's get into it. To understand how we got here, we must first understand our source. Our information comes from a former crew member, we'll call them Alex, who until recently had an all-access pass to the roll-off world. Alex was a mid-level production assistant, someone who was always on set, privy to the unguarded moments before the cameras started rolling and after they stopped. According to our contacts, Alex was let go from the production just a few weeks ago under what have been described as mysterious circumstances. While the official reason was budgetary cutbacks, Alex believes the real reason was that they knew too much, they saw too much, and they weren't willing to play the game. Our source described the on-set atmosphere in chilling detail. They told us that the production crew is encouraged to feel like part of the family, but Alex insists it's not a family, it's a cast. The source believes that if you don't buy into the official narrative, if you don't pretend along with them, you become a liability. Alex went on to describe a typical morning on set, claiming to have witnessed the director having to explicitly instruct the couple on how to act married. The source recounted hearing directions like, "Okay, Chris, can you give Amy a hug to start the scene? Let's make it look natural, guys. Let's make it look natural." Think about the implications of that statement. A director needing to coach a supposedly loving married couple to perform a simple act of affection. Our source claims this was not an isolated incident, but a daily occurrence. The on-screen warmth we see is, in fact, meticulously choreographed. Alex's testimony is the key that unlocks everything. But a single source, especially a disgruntled one, isn't enough to build a case. We need corroborating evidence. And that, my friends, is where our own investigation begins. We decided to go back and rewatch the most recent seasons with this new separate lives filter applied. And what we found is chilling. Let's start with body language. Experts will tell you that the body doesn't know how to lie. You can say the right words, you can read from a script, but your posture, your gestures, the physical space you keep, that tells the real, unvarnished story. Observe this scene from season 24. They're discussing plans for a family get-together. On the surface, it's a completely normal domestic scene. But look closer. Notice how Amy is gripping the edge of the kitchen island. Her knuckles are white. This is a classic sign of tension, a self-soothing or anchoring gesture that people use when they feel uncomfortable or stressed. Now look at Chris. For nearly the entire duration of this conversation, his arms are crossed tightly over his chest, a textbook defensive posture, creating a physical barrier between himself and his wife. Now, let's analyze their eye contact, or rather, the profound lack of it. Chris is speaking, but his gaze is directed to a point somewhere over Amy's shoulder, as if he's addressing the room itself. Amy is focused with an almost painful intensity on the notepad in front of her, rarely looking up to meet his gaze. When their eyes do happen to meet, it's fleeting, a micro expression that lasts less than a second before one of them breaks away. In a genuinely connected, intimate couple, you would expect to see prolonged, comfortable gazes, the kind that silently say, "I'm with you." What we're seeing here is a masterclass in avoidance. Here is another telling example. This was framed as a heartwarming scene where they reflect on their marriage and their future. But just look at the geography of this sofa. It's not a small piece of furniture, but the space between them is so vast, it's practically a third character in the scene. A large decorative pillow sits squarely in the middle, acting as a soft but very clear barrier. It's a perfect visual representation of the emotional distance our insider described. This very scenario was something our insider Alex commented on with startling specificity. Alex revealed that these couch scenes were notoriously difficult to film because the couple's natural inclination was to sit far apart. The source told us the couch scenes were, quote, "the worst," and described a behind-the-scenes ritual where a producer would have to step in, physically move the pillow out of the way, and explicitly tell them to scooch closer for the take. They would comply, looking all lovey-dovey while the camera was on them. But then, in a stunning detail, Alex added that the very second the director yelled, "cut," the couple would, quote, "spring apart like two magnets repelling each other." Alex described the atmosphere on set during these moments as awkward for everyone. So the closeness we see is manufactured. The distance is their natural state. This isn't a one-off occurrence or a simple misinterpretation. We analyzed over 30 key scenes from the past 2 seasons, and this pattern of physical distance, closed-off posture, lack of sustained eye contact, and the presence of physical barriers is consistent in over 80 of their supposedly unscripted interactions. The evidence is right there, hiding in plain sight for anyone willing to look. They are 2 people acting out the roles of a married couple, not living as one. Now we arrive at the most explosive part of the leak, the separate wings theory. It sounds dramatic, almost theatrical, like something out of a Gothic novel. But when you examine the known layout and the on-screen usage of their home, this theory becomes disturbingly plausible. Let's break down the alleged division of the property. According to our insider, the house is unofficially partitioned into 2 distinct self-contained zones, the Amy wing and the Chris wing. This, according to our source, is the main part of the house we are most familiar with from the show. It allegedly consists of the primary master bedroom, the large adjoining bathroom, her personal office where we see her working on her cookbooks and other business ventures, and it has primary day-to-day access to the main kitchen. This is her domain. It's the heart of the home that is presented on TV. This is where the theory gets very specific and very compelling. The Chris wing allegedly comprised what was originally designed as a large guest suite or an in-law apartment. The source claims it has its own bedroom, a separate, smaller bathroom, and, crucially, its own private entrance from the side of the house near the garage. This allows for entry and exit without having to pass through the main living areas. This wing is said to also include the man cave or den, where we often see Chris in his solo scenes, surrounded by his motorcycle memorabilia and other hobbies. The common areas, the main living room, the dining room, the back patio, are considered neutral territory, or, as our source chillingly called it, the set. And how did they coordinate their on-camera life from these separate wings? Our source claims it was as impersonal as a business meeting. Alex alleged that they would communicate via text message in the morning with logistical information, not loving good mornings. A typical text might allegedly read, "Filming in the kitchen at 9 a.m." They would then meet on the set, get their makeup touched up, and transform into Amy and Chris, the happy couple. The source painted a picture of two colleagues clocking in for a job, saying that after a scene, Amy would retreat to her office and Chris would go back to his wing to tinker in the garage. The source's final assessment of the dynamic was stark. They were more like polite roommates than husband and wife. This theory explains so much. It explains the occasional stiffness and formality we see on camera. It explains why they so often seem to be filmed in different parts of the house for their solo commentary and personal scenes. The show frames it as a healthy aspect of a couple with their own hobbies and interests. But this theory suggests it's not about interests, it's about infrastructure, an infrastructure built for a separation. Think about the narrative we're sold. Chris, the easygoing, supportive guy who gives Amy her space. Amy, the independent, strong woman who doesn't need a man underfoot 24/7. It's the perfect cover story. The show has weaponized their supposed strengths as a couple, their independence, and used it to mask what might be the fundamental truth of their arrangement. If the on-screen evidence is subtle and open to interpretation, the social media trail is a blazing siren in the night. In the modern world of reality television, a couple's joint social media presence is a vital part of maintaining the brand. But a deep, forensic dive into Amy and Chris's individual accounts reveals a consistent and telling pattern of what we are calling coordinated separation. Let's look at a case study from just 3 weeks ago. Here is a post from Amy's Instagram on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. The caption reads, "Loving this quiet weekend in the garden, so peaceful and a perfect day for it." A lovely, innocent post. It paints a picture of serene domestic bliss. But just 1 hour later, Chris posted this to his account. He's out on a long motorcycle ride with a friend, clearly miles away from home. The caption reads, "Nothing beats the open road on a Saturday. Freedom. Freedom." An interesting choice of words, isn't it? On their own, these two posts mean nothing. People in relationships have separate hobbies. But when you look at the timeline over months, the pattern is undeniable. They are very rarely pictured together in candid, spontaneous, off-the-cuff moments. The vast majority of their couple photos have the polished, well-lit, perfectly framed look of a promotional photo shoot, likely taken on filming days when they are in character. Their solo posts, however, feel far more frequent and far more genuine. In essence, they are documenting two completely separate lives that only intersect for professional obligations. We analyzed their Instagram activity over the last 6 months. Out of a combined total of over 80 posts, only 12 of them featured them together. And of those 12, 9 were directly related to promoting an upcoming episode or season of the show. The math speaks for itself. They project the image of a solid unit for professional reasons, but their personal digital footprint tells a story of two individuals moving on parallel but distinctly separate tracks. This brings us to a crucial piece of information from our insider. When we presented this social media analysis, Alex was not surprised. The source claimed it's all by design, stating that the social media is part of their contract. Alex alleged that the couple has a quota of couple posts they need to hit, especially during the weeks when the show is airing. It's not spontaneous affection being shared with the world. According to our source, it's all scheduled. It's marketing. It's not real life. This leads us to the most important question in this entire conspiracy: why? Why go through such an elaborate, emotionally taxing, and deceptive charade? Why fake a marriage? The answer, as it so often is in these situations, appears to be a complex mixture of pragmatism, branding, and emotion. We have developed three primary theories for why Amy and Chris would agree to maintain this alleged facade. Theory number one, the financial imperative. This is the most straightforward and cynical motive. Little People, Big World is a television juggernaut. It has been on the air for over 15 years, a remarkable run in the fickle world of reality TV. The salaries, appearance fees, and other benefits that come with being the central stars of such a long-running show are, without a doubt, substantial. Amy's entire storyline for the past several years has been centered on her post-divorce journey and finding a new, stable, happy life in her marriage to Chris. A separation, or even worse, a second public divorce, would throw the entire narrative of the show into complete chaos. It could very well be a death blow to the series. The network and the producers have a massive vested financial interest in keeping the happily ever after story going. For Amy and Chris, a public split could mean the end of a very lucrative and very stable paycheck. The separate wings arrangement in this theory is a pragmatic business decision, a joint venture to protect their shared financial interests. Theory number two, protecting the brand. Beyond the TLC paycheck, Amy Roloff has carefully and successfully cultivated her own personal brand. She is an author, a motivational speaker, a philanthropist, and a culinary personality. Her brand is built on the image of a resilient, strong, relatable woman who has overcome adversity to find happiness and stability. A second failed marriage, played out under the harsh glare of the public eye, would be devastating to that carefully constructed brand. It would be framed by critics as a personal failure, undermining the very image of strength and stability she has worked so hard to build. By maintaining the appearance of a stable marriage, she protects her professional identity. And Chris, in turn, has become a beloved, if secondary, figure in this universe. A messy split would tarnish his reputation as the easygoing good guy who healed Amy's broken heart. Theory number three, the family factor. This is perhaps the most sympathetic and understandable theory. Amy has already been through one very public, very painful divorce that deeply, invisibly affected her children and the entire family dynamic. The tension between her and Matt, the painful division of the farm, and the awkward family gatherings were the central drama of the show for years. Is it possible that Amy and Chris have made a pact to avoid putting the family, and especially the grandchildren, through that kind of public turmoil again? Perhaps they discovered after the wedding that their day-to-day compatibility wasn't what they'd hoped. But instead of a dramatic split, they chose a different path. A path based on a deep, mutual respect for each other and for the family unit. In this light, their arrangement isn't a cynical cash grab, but a mature, albeit unconventional decision to keep the peace and provide a stable, united front for the children and grandchildren. They are co-parenting a public image for the sake of family harmony. The truth may be a combination of all three theories. A complex web of financial necessity, professional brand management, and a genuine desire to protect their loved ones from more public drama. But no matter the reason, the evidence we've examined points toward a stunning conclusion. The marriage we see on our television screens may be a carefully crafted illusion. This brings us back to the most recent and most alarming piece of this puzzle. Our initial report stated that producers have confirmed this arrangement. Let us be very clear about what we mean by this. This is not a public statement from TLC. You will never see a press release acknowledging this. The confirmation is not verbal, it's operational. Our information comes from secondary and tertiary sources connected to the production who have spoken with our primary source, Alex. The word on the set, the open secret that Alex first described, is that the senior producers are not only fully aware of the situation, but are actively working to conceal it. This is corroborated by our source, Alex, who insists the producers are the architects of the illusion. Alex was emphatic on this point, telling us they know, of course they know, they orchestrate it. The source then explained the process, claiming that filming days are specifically scheduled to create a bank of happy couple scenes that can be edited into the show and sprinkled throughout the season to maintain the storyline. And what happens if any real-life disagreement or tension were to surface on camera? Alex says the protocol is clear and immediate. The cameras are turned off and the crew is told, "We're not shooting that." The source's final damning claim was that the producers are not documenting reality anymore. They are creating it. This is the role of the producer confirmation. It's an internal acknowledgement of the situation confirmed through their actions. By directing scenes of affection, by carefully editing out any moments of authentic tension, and by building an entire season's storyline around a reality they allegedly know to be false. The confirmation is in the cover-up itself. So from now on, every time you see them laughing together in the kitchen, every time you watch a tender moment on the porch swing, every time Chris says something supportive, you have to ask yourself, is this real? Or am I watching a scene that was reshot 3 times with a producer just off camera reminding them to smile, to touch, to act like they're in love? So where does this leave us, the viewers? We are presented with a mountain of circumstantial, yet deeply compelling evidence. We have a detailed account from a production insider. We have a clear pattern of distant body language and manufactured affection on screen. We have a social media presence that screams separation. And we have a plausible, logical house layout that would allow for 2 people to live together, yet entirely apart. Is this the biggest deception in modern reality TV? Are Amy and Chris simply 2 very private people in a highly unconventional but still loving relationship that we are misinterpreting? Or are they actors in the final decaying season of their own real-life show, bound by contracts and expectations, simply waiting for the final curtain to fall? The truth, as of now, remains hidden behind closed doors, fortified by ironclad non-disclosure agreements. But the cracks in the facade are beginning to show. The leaks have started, and the story we've all been sold for years is beginning to unravel. One thing is for certain, watching Little People, Big World will never be the same again. You'll see the empty space on the sofa. You'll notice the fleeting, awkward eye contact. You'll question every single hug. But now, I will turn it over to you, the loyal viewers, the jury. What do you think? Have you noticed these signs before now? Do you believe the insider's report is credible? Or is this all just a wild conspiracy theory? Let us know your detailed thoughts in the comments section below. Your insights, your observations, your own theories, they are a crucial part of this ongoing investigation. Let's piece this together as a community. And if you want to stay on top of this developing story, please make sure you have subscribed to LPBW Update and have those notifications turned on. We are actively pursuing more information, and we will bring you any and all updates the second we get them. This story is far, far from over.